Hello and welcome to the Cute Baby Tutorials using Gimp. I may do a few things in this video, so if you want to go straight to one of the main sections, then the times they start are shown on your screen now. These videos are also available in higher definition on my website, along with any original files I'm allowed to give you in case you want to work on the same image as me. Just click on the link below. Okay, here we go. Question for you. Do you need a pen and tablet, an art tablet? The kind of thing I'm talking about. Wacom or Wacom, depending on where you come from, make some very nice ones. They're like those little pens which you draw on a tablet with and you get some very naturalistic pen strokes. But do you actually need one to do the kind of work that we've been doing? For the past 10 or 15 videos that we've been doing, I would have given you a simple no, you don't need one. In fact, if you're using Gimp on an Apple and you've got a one-button mouse, I would say do yourself a favour. Before you get a tablet, get yourself a two-button mouse with a scroll wheel in the middle. It will make your life so much easier. That's what I use on my Mac, and I really would not want to go back to just one button on the end of my fingertips. Having two buttons plus a scroll wheel is great. Use it for zooming, use it for right-clicking for context-sensitive things. It works great. You wouldn't need a pen for most photographic duties. But now, for this final video of this basic series, we're going to be using the dodge and burn tools. Now they're a little bit more like painting, and now it's not so clear cut. I'll be doing my work today using a mouse. I could also do it using a tablet and pen, but we'll stick with a tablet and pen for now so you can see the process. But to start off with, I'll do what I normally do. Create a folder, rename it to Fix, take my opened image, duplicate it, call it base, and I'll click and hold and drag that into the Fix folder, and we're ready to go. Alright, here's our picture, and as you can see, somebody looks happy. What I might do normally is to start tackling this using levels or curves or whatever, but today I'm going to do something different. I'm going to be using dodge and burn. So first thing I want to do is take a look at the eyes. There's a little bit of red eye going on there, as you can see. We'll take a look at that using the dodge and burn tool. Okay, there's our options. Now at the moment it's set to dodge. Well, if I do dodge, that will make things lighter and more washed out, which I don't want. I want burn, which is going to make things darker and more intense. Now my brush, it's the hard brush, I don't need that. I want to go for this soft brush here, because what I want to do is make the center of the pupils darker, but also just a little bit of the iris around it. Now, what's my exposure? Before you touch anything, check your exposure. It's on about 18. It's underneath 20. Don't do this. Don't whack your exposure right the way up to something really high and then start going. There you go. You'll get a whole load of really awful effects really quickly. Now I'm going to get rid of that. Ready to go again. This time I'm going to knock the exposure, or how strong the effect is, right the way down to about, say, 16.7. Okay, here we go. I'm just starting to click a few times with my mouse and you can see it's getting darker. It's leaving the highlights alone. Well, why is that? Because I've selected, if I come over here, I've selected midtones, which means the middle tones are going to be affected. The highlights won't be. The shadows won't be. This is very, very, very useful. Let's go back to the picture again. Alright, I've got that. So compare with the original. Yeah, looking better already. I've lost a little bit of the highlights there, so that's not a problem. Let's come back to the options. This time we'll go for dodge. Let's try the midtones again. I'm going to whack up the exposure a little bit to 30. That's about as much as I ever want to do it. I'll make the brush size smaller. Take it right the way down. Oh, let's see what that 40. That might be a little bit small. Let's try about 20. And start. Yeah, you can see now I'm brushing the highlights back in. While we're here, let's try putting in just a little bit of highlight just down the bottom. Bring the eye to life a little bit. 31 might be a little bit much to do that. I'm going to press Ctrl-Z to get rid of that again. And I'm going to take the exposure right the way down. I want to try doing the same thing again, but this time build up the strokes one at a time. This is the best way to do it, using dodge or burn. Well, that's quite nice. And while we're here, let's go to the burn tool again. We're on midtones. Let's make just this top area a little bit dark around here, and maybe we can pick out a little bit more of these eyelashes, make them nicer. Just that ring around the iris, we can do something with that. Try on this side as well. Come around again. And see what we've got now. Alright, well there's our original picture, and here's the new one. Well, why stop there? Why don't we take a look at the hair, see what we can do with that? Come back over to our Dodge Burn tool. This time I want Dodge, I want to make the highlights lighter. So, click on Highlights, Exposure 9.8, that seems fine. Let's take a look at my brush size. Yep, that seems about okay. Let's see what we can do. We're going to do several strokes to build up the image instead of one big heavy stroke, which can usually overpower the whole thing. You can also see with this as well that maybe having a tablet and a pen might be a nice idea, because then you can vary the pressure, you can vary the intensity of the stroke, you can vary how wide the stroke is, all various things just by using the pressure of the pen. It also feels more professional as well. Alright, we've done that. Let's go to Burn, and I want to make the shadows darker. So Burn, Shadows. See what we can do with this. That's, even at 9.8, that's giving quite a strong effect. I've got to be careful not to overdo this, and it is quite easy to overdo this effect, especially for some reason when it comes to whitening teeth. Be very careful with that. I'm not doing that here, but it's very easy to make your teeth look really unrealistic by overdoing the Dodge effect. Alright, let's take a look at the original image again. Sometimes you don't realize the changes you have made. It's only when you compare the original, like this, with the new image, you start to see it. Alright, let's see what else we've got. Well, okay, just a little bit around that lollipop. Maybe we can do something with that. So I want Burn again. I'm going to try the midtones this time, and I want to just increase the darkness around here. Make this lolly a little bit darker around here, a little bit more intense. Maybe some shadows around the hands. Make them just a little bit stronger. You can see this gets a bit moreish after a while. You think, oh, I'll just do this, I'll just do that. Go to Dodge again. Again, midtones, and I want to try and pick out just some of this lolly. Yeah, right now a tablet would be quite useful. Come back to Highlights. I want to see if I can make just these light frosted bits just a little bit more sparkly. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I don't want to overdo that. It's a little bit intense as it is. Okay, that just about wraps up this series of tutorials using Gimp. The only thing we haven't really touched has been layer mode. Oh, very quickly, come on, right. Take this layer we've just created, duplicate it. Then come to Filters, Blur, Gaussian Blur, radius of about 15 horizontal and vertical radius there, that's fine. Click on OK. The whole image gets blurred. Well, what's the point of that, I hear you ask? We'll take that image, come up here to where it says Mode, and we're going to come down to Overlay. Well, look at that. That's a feature you see a lot in quite professional photography. I'm going to take the opacity of that. I'm going to take it right down to 0 so it's invisible. I'm going to gradually bring it up to where I want. Whenever you're doing this sort of thing, do this a lot. Take it down to invisible, make it gradually more and more visible to about the level you want. That's looking quite nice there. Also, one thing I can do as well is I can add a layer mask to it. Make that white, full opacity, and get our paintbrush. And for the bits around the highlights around the hair, I might consider letting some of them show through, so I still get those sharp little highlights. Also around the eyes, I don't want the eyes to be as soft focus as they are. They need to have a bit of definition, so I'm going to erase from around there, make them a little bit more lively. Okay, that just about wraps up this series of Gimp tutorials. Now, we've covered pretty much all of the basics here. Hopefully, I can find the time to do a series of intermediate tutorials, and in that, we'll combine these various techniques together in various different ways to come up with hopefully some interesting results. But for now, I would say for the longest time, I didn't really take much notice of Gimp. I mean, I've been using Photoshop since I think about 1989, something like that. And so Gimp was always the free alternative. I never really took much notice of it. But the more you get into it, the more you realize it's very powerful. You can do a lot of very creative stuff with it. And it can take a photograph from that, which is, it's a perfectly nice photograph, to that. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, maybe you consider clicking on one of the links below and check out my game called Disco Baby, which is on the iTunes Store or Android stores like Google Play. It has 3 different games in it: a memory game, a maths game for children, and a dance along with me game for toddlers to join in with. Thanks for your time.